Morning, Preetesh, and thank you very much for joining us at the BCMA today. Preetesh is currently the CEO of the Luries. The Luries is a South African creative award, and because we're dealing with branded content and creativity, I thought speaking to Preetesh about this particular subject matter would be a really good idea. Good morning, and thank you for your time.
Good morning.
So, we're part of the Branded Content Marketing Association. As you know, a lot of brands are moving into the branded content space.
Mm-hmm.
They know that the value of offering content that brings value for a client has become a much bigger part of the marketing mix. Not interrupting a consumer when they need to watch stuff online. So I just want to know, in the creative form, bringing creative value into the brand's process by offering branded content. Can you tell me a little bit about what brands are doing, how they're starting to explore this particular area of branded content, specifically the award-winning stuff that you've seen in this last season of the Luries?
Yeah, I think one of the first things is awareness from a brand side in terms of the value of branded content. I mean, it's been a challenging year, and we have to speak about COVID-19 and the issues that it's brought about, which meant that a lot of the initiatives that brands had planned could not go through. And this is why a lot of more branded content stuff, working with creators, working with artists who already had things in the pipeline, became so important. And as part of what we're actually seeing from the award-winning stuff that's come out, and just from some of the entries, some of them haven't even been awarded, but just from the entries as well, which gives us a good idea in terms of what's happening across the region, is that brands are realizing that branded content, one, has an absolute strong advantage over regular content, especially in times of crisis such as this, and therefore it's easy to actually turn around and do work in it. And the two, in terms of being able to be agile with their messaging, branded content is the perfect platform for them to be able to use to actually be agile with the messaging, with key relevant stuff that they actually need to be sharing with consumers. So overall, what we're seeing is that the need for brands to use branded content, especially this year, has been stronger than ever.
And one of the things I suppose that's happened with the likes of TikTok is that it's not necessarily the big production values that are winning the awards, but it's the creative ideas that are winning awards. And the guys on TikTok have got a very small or a very low budget camera, and they are making these amazingly creative pieces of content that are getting millions of views. So are you finding the same things happening with brands?
Yeah, I think what you're looking for is relevant engagement, and that's the key thing. So as long as you can ensure that you're creating engagement with relevant type of communication, you're going to find that it absolutely wins. And brands realize this as well. We're actually at a stage where brands are learning from other creators, and they're seeing what works well with those creators who are actually doing fantastically well, and how they're actually able to capture those eyeballs or ears in terms of the content that they're actually creating. So brands are now learning from these creators. Brands are taking these lessons and they're applying it to what they're actually putting it out there. So gone are the days where it was purely just a situation of where a brand would come up with an idea and go, here's something that we've somehow thought about, and we want to be innovative from that sense. The innovation is now being inspired by the consumers who have now become the creators who are actually putting out this content.
So how have agencies adapted to the branded content space? Because a lot of clients are going to production houses direct, or going to these influencers directly to create stuff. Have agencies managed to understand the model and create an environment in the agency to be able to produce for clients?
Yeah, I think for a lot of brands, when they first looked at this, it's easy. You look at a creator, or you look at an artist, and they're actually creating some amazing stuff, and you go, we should be able to work with them directly and produce some amazing work. And the realization is that there's actually a lot of work to be done in between in order to produce great branded content. So what we're finding right now is a lot of brands are relying more and more on their agency partners to be able to produce this branded content as well. Agencies have realized that there's an absolute need from brands to actually be able to deliver this content, so they're gearing up in-house to be able to deal with creators, to deal with artists in order to be able to do this. So I think what you're finding is that at the start, there was an absolute disconnect. There was an absolute lack of understanding in terms of what was the smoothest way to actually execute branded content. And brands assumed that they could do it themselves. But we're now kind of codifying, and it's settling down where the realization is that the agency as a partner still has the ability to deliver this for the brand and reduce the effort that's required from the brand side. So I think the role of the agency is becoming stronger and needed more now than ever before.
Yeah, I suppose because the agencies are the custodian of that creative, thread, and it's so important that that creative thread gets carried through to all the communication. I think it's vital that it does stay there.
Yeah.
So a big trend in the branded content space is where obviously brands are trying to give value to the consumers in some way, but a lot of the newer brands that are getting into that space don't even mention the brand. So they embed the concept quite cleverly into the piece of content that they're providing.
Yes.
So how are brands adapting to that kind of headspace that, consumers don't really want to be sold to, but they want to be educated. So there's that very fine balance. How are brands adapting to that?
Yeah, I think in the old world, there's always that old joke about whenever any content was produced, the brand always went, make the logo bigger. We're now going into the world of the no logo world. Because what if you actually think about it, all it is the brand is trying to influence the consumer to develop a relationship with the consumer that leads to purchase. That's all brands are trying to do in the end of the day, is to entice purchase. And I think there's a realization right now that purchase can happen without the brand being in the consumer's face itself, but where the brand actually then speaks to the consumer's lifestyle itself. And that's what's amazing about a lot of these branded content creators is that what they're doing is they're selling a lifestyle that resonates with the consumer, and that's why the consumer is willing to consume whatever content they're actually producing. And if the brand can ensure that they are integrated into that lifestyle and are positioned in a way that makes the consumer actually feel that I would like to actually live this lifestyle in the same way that the creator has to actually integrate this brand to my life, then it's a win for the brand. The brand gets the sale. So it's no longer a world of logos. It's now a world of what utility am I going to get from this actual brand itself and the products that they create.
Yeah, that's true. And I suppose also looking on that content continuum, there's short format and there's long format. And I suppose a lot of short format content lives in social media, but there's also big opportunities for brands to get involved in long format, which is on the TV platforms. And I know that the broadcasters are dying to get involved with brands because they can't keep up with the amount of content that they need to provide. So are you seeing a trend towards a longer format, or are still brands playing in the shorter format content?
I mean, across our region, we're still seeing a lot more of the shorter content stuff. And you're right, it's an absolute developmental area in terms of the longer form content. And I think where the real barrier comes in is I think some of the broadcasters don't truly understand how this can be integrated and how branded content can actually be used to their advantage itself. I'm seeing some great examples from MultiChoice, which owns DSTV, which operates across the African region itself, which is doing some amazing stuff with brands to really create great examples of branded content. And I was exposed to some amazing stuff that they're actually doing. But the reality is, as I said, in the end of the day, it's a developmental area. It's a lot easier to go into the short form content because it's easier to do. It's easier to see the results really, really quickly. But in terms of development and where we're heading to, I think the brands who actually get into the long form content right now and truly understand how they can use this to their advantage will be ahead of the curve and will do a lot better than their competitors.
I just recently seen an example where Investec, which for our listeners out there, Investec is a large South African bank that's broadened its borders to be a multinational bank. And I see they've entered the world of content, and they've got a link to see what happens behind the scenes at Investec. But you've got to go online and watch the show, and it's quite a series of different shows. So it's interesting and exciting that banks are getting in that space. Um, but obviously important for me and important for branded content. This year at the Luries, at the Creative Awards, which brands are winning awards in the branded content space or have done this year?
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the great examples is Netbank. Netbank, which is one of the top four banks in South Africa who do fantastically well, and they produced a campaign called Secrets, which was a film. Um, and at no point did you see the Netbank branding on it. It really was really about financial services and important, but integrated with a lot of drama and the way they actually went. And I think what was also useful is the way they actually marketed it. They did it via billboards. They treated it like a film, and they advertise it as such and give consumers the ability to be able to access this content. And they had a look, and they used some well-known South African film celebrities on it as well. And that campaign ended up winning a Grand Prix at the Luries this year. And what it actually showed is that while again, it's not really about the brand, it's not pushing the brand, but it's about pushing the lifestyle aspects of what the brand is able to integrate into and how the brand is actually able, as Netbank, as a financial services provider, able to add value into the lives of consumers. And there's that reward at the end when the consumer understands that. That's the value of what's happening. That's one of the best examples I can definitely highlight. Yeah.
It's nice to hear that a campaign like that, which it sounds like a bit of a longer format, is
Mm.
starting to win in the Grand Prix category, which is nice. People are starting to understand the medium and the value. And I don't know, and I know that the Luries doesn't necessarily measure effectiveness, but we know that creativity and effectiveness work hand in hand. What was the results of that campaign for client? Do you know? Have you got any
Yeah.
idea?
So interesting is I don't have that. I don't have the exact granular detail offhand, but yeah, effectiveness is a big part of being able to enter the Luries right now. So you have to give us some top line data that actually shows that there's been value from the campaign itself. And one of the reasons that the Netbank Secrets campaign won a Grand Prix is that it wasn't just merely entertainment. It really was something that added to the bottom line and to the value of the Netbank brand as well. So yes, so from a results perspective, from a business perspective, it's absolutely worked. Too, from engagement, it's absolutely worked because that's how you get the business results is from the engagements itself. So what we did see was that the numbers showed that this was a very effective campaign.
So I wonder with COVID, being in place and clients having to change the way they are communicating to consumers. Do you think that branded content is going to play a much bigger role with brands and trying to get them to engage their consumers?
Yes, I do. I think, as I said, there's still. I think from a lot of what I've seen is, and what I'm seeing is that brands are not fully utilizing the full potential of branded content and where it can actually go. I think we're almost stuck at a very comfortable, safe zone. And this is why I think agency partners are so great. I think the agencies are pushing brands to think in a different way. But I do think what you're going to see is, and I think we know this just from trends overall, is that branded content is going to get a larger share of the spend from brands themselves. They're going to see the value of it. And I think this year specifically has been a great reason for brands to see the value of branded content. And I can see no logical, and it's been a catalyst. This year has been a catalyst for branded content. And I can see no logical reason for that to slow down in any way.
Brilliant. Okay, but Preetesh, from our side, I just want to say we're part of a much bigger branded content world that's taking place in London on the 17th of December, brought to you by Nemarin Film and the BCMA, who are our two sponsors of the day. And I want to thank you for your time and your valuable input, specifically bringing creativity into branded content. And we hope to see more of you.
Fantastic. Thanks for having me on, and good luck with the conference.
And we'll chat soon. Thank you very much. Cheers, Alan.